Christianity serves as a morally, intellectually, and of course visually rich source of inspiration, something that Hollywood has always recognized in one form or another. While Christian films oftentimes show Christians to be these super clean, artificial people, secular films oftentimes show Christians to be naive, unintelligent, or downright insane. To me, it's not a big mystery why so many films oftentimes characterize Christians in such a dramatic and unrealistic kind of way. We gotta be honest, there are so many different denominations, cultural Christians, like real believers struggling with their faith. It becomes hard to write Christian characters who are realistic, truthful, and especially from a secular point of view. I mean, just to tell a compelling story. You already heard me so many times on this channel right here talk about how there are so many secular films that really respect Christians. For example, The Exorcist, Signs, Ben-Hur, and Minari. But I recently rewatched a film called Prisoners by Denis Villeneuve that misrepresented Christianity so badly, literally having Christians lie and torture, and it just gave me a reason to do this video right here and talk about fake faith films. These kinds of films aren't Christian films and they aren't anti-Christian films. There are films that pretend to be faith-based but really aren't. This kind of film is Prisoners. It is about a Christian father whose daughter gets kidnapped, and when the police fail to find her, he takes the matter into his own hands and falls away from his faith into evil, violence, and destruction. Right from the first couple of moments in the film, we hear the Lord's Prayer like full length being said out loud in like a whispering voice. Underlining a really slow and long shot of a deer getting shot. And I was like, okay, this is a really atmospheric opening. I'm curious to see where this is going. And it wasn't long until I found out that there wasn't much meaning to be found in that film. The director Denis Villeneuve is of course currently really popular and well known for the Dune films. When it comes to film directing, Denis Villeneuve is one of the most talented directors working today, but I always had an issue with some of the stories he chooses to tell. Prisoners is a really good example. This film, first of all, looks like $1 billion. It's shot by the best cinematographer in the world, Roger Deakins, who also got an Academy Award for his work right here. Rightly so, the film looks fantastic. The set design is amazing. It's got a great score and the editing is fantastic, but there is a big problem with this film, and that is the screenplay and the story, which is actually super dumb and ignorant and cruel. Not only is this film void of any hope, it also doesn't have like a concise view of how humans actually behave or change, or of how humans are able to become evil. And we're talking about the psychological thriller right here, okay? So I don't know what to say. Let me give you an example. The protagonist is played by Hugh Jackman, the Christian father whose daughter gets kidnapped, all right? And after the police can't find out who the kidnapper is, he actually hunts down a suspected kidnapper, and who is like, he has a mental disorder which gives him the personality of a 10-year-old, and it happens like that when he decides to abduct this guy and get him into an abandoned building and start torturing him. We never see this supposedly Christian character praying about it or questioning what he needs to do, what is the moral thing to do here. The film makes it look like Christians are ready to leave their faith without questioning when something bad happens. The character is also like super cliche. He's a prepper, he's emotionally distant from his son, and all of these things are more cliche than anything else. Like, they don't really have to deal with being Christian at all. Even worse, the character is kind of shown to still hold on to his faith even after torturing somebody repeatedly. Like, the film shows this in great detail, like really violent and emotionally draining. And there's like at the end of the film, like there's like a scene of prayer where he's like asking for guidance, but he's not really asking for guidance because clearly he's been torturing this guy for hours, and like prayer just gets reduced to like a stylistic thing, or I don't know, it's just completely empty meaning when it comes to the scenes of prayer in this film. Because Hugh Jackman's character isn't really asking for guidance. At no point is he grappling with the decision not to take judgment into his own hands, but to let God judge this person who may or may not have abducted his daughter. And in Romans 12, the Bible says, "Bless those who persecute you. Bless and do not curse them. Beloved, never avenge yourselves, but leave it to the wrath of God." Okay, it's obvious that if something as evil as this happens to you, like Hugh Jackman's character, you would do anything to get your child back. But as a Christian, you would at least question your decisions and it's like the most moral thing to do, right? There should be a moral fight going on, especially as a psychological thriller, but there isn't. Christianity is just reduced to a stylistic element in this film, and it's not even a plot device, it's just pure style. And Jake Gyllenhaal, who plays the detective in the film, has like a cross tattoo on his hand right here, which is shown repeatedly in close-ups. We find out nothing about Jake Gyllenhaal in this film, especially not his faith, and why? This is a 2.5 hour psychological thriller and you only have like a couple of characters in there. Why don't we find out anything about this guy? And when it comes to how prisoners misuses Christianity, it gets even worse. Later on, Jake Gyllenhaal visits a church to interrogate a priest and he finds him like passed out on the floor, completely drunk, and he finds a corpse in the basement of the church. And it turns out that this corpse belonged to an actual kidnapper who came to confession to this priest and confessed that he abducted like almost 100 children and he's planning to continue to do so. And the priest took the matter into his own hands and like put him into the basement, locked him up, and made him starve to death. Why the priest didn't hand over this guy to the police, or what did the moral fight of the priest look like when he decided to kill that guy, we never find any of this out. Like everything I just told you is like told through 2 brief scenes and that's it. The peak of the misusing of Christianity comes at the end of the film when, spoiler alert, the kidnapper of Hugh Jackman's daughter turns out to be like an old woman who used the guy Hugh Jackman tortured for the whole film as a means of getting to kids and locking them up. And her backstory is that she and her husband used to be Christians, but ever since their son died of cancer, they started serving the devil in a kind of war against God and started abducting children because it makes other people become demons, which is true. But all of this is like told in just a couple of dialogue lines at the end of the movie. We never find out how all of that, like how they transitioned from being faithful Christian to like the absolute evil. I think when films decide to deal with such horrible evil humans are capable of, they have like a moral responsibility or obligation to dig deeper into the reasoning of how something like this can happen and not just like drop it onto the viewer and let him deal with all of that. Here's the reason why I'm so upset in the way this film shows Christianity, but because this film is like high quality, it looks so good, the directing is like so thoughtful, but still like a well-directed film can make a stupid story seem way better than it is, and this is exactly what's going on right here. Denis Villeneuve in Prisoners shows Christianity to be something that people easily fall away from and into extreme kinds of evil without any friction or fight. People who aren't believers, who have never heard the gospel, will walk away from this film and kind of attribute this evil stuff to Christianity, like, okay, I won't be touching Christianity because at best it's worthless, right? At best, and like Christianity served no single character in this film, even though this film makes it really clear that these people are Christians, and it makes it really clear that these people turn evil. I can't even attribute that this film has some kind of evil agenda against God, given how poorly this film is written. I mean, the way the Christian characters are written, I mean, that's just bad writing more than anything else. And because of that, Prisoner showed me how we gotta be aware of how films that aren't even being against Christianity can still shed a negative light on Christians and on God, because of how they just play with Christian ideas and combine that with like a bad story. And Prisoners also shows how great direction can hide a bad screenplay and a cruel message. But yeah, guys, what do you think about this film? Especially if you're a Christian, but also if you're not Christian, what do you think about how Christianity is being shown in a film like Prisoners? Just write me a comment down below. I'm really curious to hear a take on that. But that's it for today, guys. I thank you so much for watching. Wish you all a blessed day and hope to have you back in my next video.